Hello, my name is Christopher Melling, a second year, and I'm so excited to talk to you about attack outlines today. I'm going to step through a PowerPoint. It's going to last about 6 to 8 minutes, and then I'll show you two examples of attack outlines I used last year for civil procedure and criminal law. So without further ado, as I said, we're going to discuss attack outlines. Just a disclaimer, this is not going to cover necessarily what traditional outlines are. Will Morrison is going to provide that to you, or diagram or flow outlines. Also, just goes without saying, but this is what worked for me and how I did an attack outline. And if you have any questions, please email me, mellingc@law.byu.edu. So when you start to think about what type of outline to use, just ask yourself these three questions. Do I need a quick reference if I'm taking an open book exam? Do I need a one-stop shop to study and memorize for my exams? Or do I like checklists and quick reference guides? Well, if the answer to any of those is yes, then attack outlines are for you. So how do I start? Well, strongly encourage you to not make attack outlines the only outline you do. That you should make sure as you're going along through the semester, you're doing a traditional outline, which again, Will Morrison will cover, that you commit to making an attack outline. And finally, picking a format that works best for you. So throughout these slides, and especially afterwards, I'll give you some ideas on what to include and how to make the attack outline. But here's just two things to get your mind going of what would work best. Well, it could be text-based, and this is what I prefer and what I did, because you can put a lot of information in a short amount of space. We'll talk more about that later. You could also incorporate some flow charts. Now, they take a little bit more room because you're doing boxes and everything, but if there are certain concepts that's important you to walk through, for example, homicide in criminal law, that may be helpful. Information to include, it's gonna great places to go. First of all, is the syllabus of your course. It'll give you obviously the unique and specific things that you're going to cover in that semester's class. Your casebook table of contents also will help you include information of topic areas, and most importantly, your notes from the class. There's no substitute for sitting through all the classes, and if you have to make them up, I encourage you to do so. But having those notes from class will ensure that you're putting in what's appropriate, and it's going to help you succeed on that exam. And finally, laws and statutes like model penal code or federal rules of civil procedure. Just know that that's not putting in like the entire laws, because remember, the attack outline we want short, but you want to ensure that the laws that you want to reference are included. We talked about text versus flow chart, and you'll see my examples, but the key is to keep it simple, short, and easy to read. You want something that's a page, a couple pages. Again, you want that quick reference so you can, that's the point. That's why it's an attack outline, so you can use it to attack an exam. And as you're creating it and using it, make sure it's helpful. If it's not helping you with practice exams, it may not help you on the actual exam. So make sure you design it so that it helps you. What I like to do is to start the shell early. Now, of course, I'm not going to have everything to put in there, but I can decide what type of attack outline I'm going to use. So if it's that text-based, create that shell of using the syllabus and table of contents to know what I'm going to include on there. And that way I can update as I go along. So as we cover each phase, for example, civil procedure, as we finish discussing personal jurisdiction, I'll take that and condense it down and then put it on the attack outline. Likewise, as we step through the other stages of litigation. So that way, as the classes end, I simply have to tweak and fine tune. I don't have to feel super stressed out that I've got to create a traditional outline and an attack outline. But again, you could wait because the attack outline is, just a couple pages, but I like to update as I go along. You want to ensure that everything you covered in class is included, but do not, strong encourage, do not include things that are outside the class, meaning going to commercial sources and just jamming it full of everything. You want to include what's you're going to be tested on. Do you have better intel from the professor? Either the professor has let you know that a certain area is not going to be on the exam, or if you don't get anything from the professor, you've got to assume that's going to be on the exam so that you can include it. Past exams from the professor, if they're provided, you do want to take it with a grain of salt that past exams are not going to be your current exam, but perhaps there's some common themes and areas that you see that are going to be tested that you want to emphasize on your attack outline. Do I have an open note exam or a closed book exam? And that's going to guide how you use your attack outline. Well, if it's closed book, you're not going to be able to use it during the exam, but it's still a great tool to help you study and prepare for the exam as you're taking practice tests. And also it's a great study aid. So just like flashcards is a way to study, having a 1 to 3 page attack outline, a one-stop shop of all the topics that you need to study, all the cases you need to know, would be a great tool for your memory. Now for open book exams, now that you have the ability to use your own notes, make sure you check with your professor. But if you can use that attack outline, now you can not only use it as you practice for the exam, but also take it with you into the exam. You still want to ensure that the attack outline is not a substitute for studying. But if you get stuck or frozen, then this is what can really help you quickly during the exam get back on track. So that's all I have on the PowerPoint. I'm not going to step through and show you the attack outlines I created and used for civil procedure and criminal law. If you have any questions, again, melling@law.byu.edu. So give me a second to pull up my CivPro attack outline. Okay, so civil procedure, it was going to be an open note exam. So I knew that I wanted to create a helpful attack outline so that I could succeed, to keep me on track if I got stuck, to give me those cases I needed to know. So I wanted something that was going to include, of course, everything on the course in an organized, easy to read fashion. It was 3 pages long, a little on the long side, but that's because I wanted the font large enough for me to be able to read. The next thing I wanted to consider is, do I want to use text or flowcharts? Well, text for me worked better. That's just how my mind worked and what I was used to. So how do I organize it? Well, I wanted it to follow the stages of litigation because for me, that's what made sense in civil procedure. So I started with pre-trial, moved on to discovery, the trial portion, remedies, appeal, etc. And within each section, I tried to step along and just give the wave tops. Notice that I'm not really explaining a lot. It's more of a checklist in areas to cover. So with personal jurisdiction, let me zoom in here. You see that physical presence, waiver, form selection clause, general jurisdiction. So just the wave tops under personal jurisdiction. And if you notice, you see Carnival Atlantic, I included the case names only. No more details from the case names because this is just an attack outline, not a full outline, but just case names to get me on the right track. So during my exam, because the professor did say that cases were important, I would remember which cases would be helpful. Also, let me jump to discovery. Notice how I basically, under discovery, I kind of just have the list from the rules, federal rules of civil procedure. And again, I don't include the entire rule, but it's just a rule to get me on the right track. So during the exam, if I got stuck, I had the federal rules of civil procedure right next to the attack outline, so I could quickly cross-reference and get to it. Last thing on this particular one I want to cover is, I knew from past exams and the professor that motion for summary judgment was a commonly mistake. And so I did spend a little bit more time and space on this attack outline with a chart for summary judgment. So if there's certain areas that you want to include, I think of homicide as one for criminal law that you may want a flow chart, for example, go ahead and include that. Now, how did I use this? Well, during practice exam, I filled it out as I went along. I continued tweaking. I made changes almost all the way up to the exam on this, but this is a living document I used to study for my practice exam. So I knew exactly where to go if I got stuck on the final. Now, let me bring up my criminal procedure outline. Criminal law outline, excuse me. You'll be able to take criminal procedure second and third year. Okay, a little bit similar to civil procedure in terms of text-based. There's no flow charts on here, but the key again was it's open note exam for criminal law for me. So I wanted something that was easy to read and was a reference to if I got stuck. So it's organized by sections, topics, components of the crime. I put first after some public policy, but I put components because through my practice exams, I knew that I was having a little bit trouble with organization of my answer. And so I wanted to be sure if I got stuck that I would know to talk about for a crime, actus reus, mens rea, and the cause. For the common law and the model penal code. And for this particular course, I knew that that was going to be the key to success. Being able to talk to common law versus model penal code for crimes, and then were the elements met of actus reus, mens rea, and the cause. I even put that at the top of my attack outline because it was that important to me. So after I went through that, it was organized by crime. Homicide, and this is a case where, again, I talked about maybe a flowchart was needed, but I like the text, first degree, second degree, voluntary manslaughter, etc., with common law and model penal code. And then I'm going to zoom in and I want you to notice I next go into inchoate offenses, solicitation, conspiracy. Notice that I have it organized actus reus, mens rea, limitations, common law, and model penal code under each. And if you notice on the other crimes like attempt, same thing, actus reus, mens rea. And like you saw, so the organization for under each crime or subtopic was the same. And that's way, it just, again, it's about organization for me and having something easy to read. Notice again, I'm not describing it that much. I'm kind of putting bullet items because that's not what the attack outline is not going to give you everything you need. It's simply, again, to help you if you get stuck and to keep you on track. It also could be used as a checklist. So for example, one of the questions on the exam I had was only dealing with inchoate offenses. So I could pull that section of my attack, have that section of the attack outline ready, and then just know that for the fact pattern, just make sure I remembered and was a checklist. So solicitation, conspiracy, attempt, so on and so forth. So easy to read, able to use. Well, I hope those examples were helpful and the PowerPoint as well for some thoughts to think about. So just some parting shots here. The attack outline, no substitute for actually getting into the class, listening to lectures, taking your notes, developing that traditional outline, help organize your thoughts. But when you want something that's quick reference, easy to use to either help study and or take the test if it's open note, then attack outline is for you. But make sure you do the work, because doing the work is going to help you learn and organize your thoughts to have a successful exam. So if you have any questions on attack outlines, again, Melling C at law.byu.edu. Have a great day.